Happens if through the fall, Team Obama continues to ask voters for patience without a real plan. Rick Grinnell put it well last night in a late-night tweet. He said, "You can get elected on hope, but you can't get re-elected on it." And that's the memo. Now on to the top story tonight. Reaction to today's dismal job numbers. Presidential hopeful Mitt Romney sat down for an interview today with Fox News anchor Bret Baier.
Another disappointing monthly figure, and I know the White House keeps saying that you can't look at just monthly numbers, but if you look over the last several quarters, the last several years, you see the continued pattern, which is that we're not creating the jobs we need to create to put Americans back to work. For every net new job created, about 4 people dropped out of the workforce. So we're going in the wrong direction. This is a very difficult time for the American people.
Joining us now to react from New York is David Callahan. He's a senior fellow at Demos, which is a progressive organization, and here in Washington, former economic advisor to President George W. Bush, Douglas Holtz-Eakin. Okay, gentlemen, look, we had 368,000 people leave the job force. That was the number. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics has this way of calculating the joblessness rate that minimizes it, I think, Doug, because it goes down to 8.1%. People think, wow, that's progress. Tell us what it really represents.
Ignore the drop from 8.3 to 8.1. This is an unrelentingly bad report. We had 368,000 people give up looking for a job, so they're not unemployed. They just disappear from the statistic. But inside that, it's even worse. We have another measure of employment in the household survey, 119,000 fewer jobs. If you look inside the 96,000 jobs we supposedly got, they're heavily concentrated in just a few sectors, no broad-based job growth. And the pay that people get for those jobs, non-existent. No growth in earnings, no growth in hours, no growth. This is not just it's not just this month. This is the 4th straight month where we've had a jobs report that might have some teaser at the top that gets people excited. But if you look inside it, it's a very weak report.
David, the jobs that were created, the 96,000 jobs that were created, sounds good. You think, wow, that's a lot of jobs. But we find out when we dig into the labor statistics, these are primarily jobs in the food service industry, waitresses and waitering. No offense to those professions, but they don't pay all that much. And also the beverage industry, so bartenders. So, I mean, these aren't the good-paying jobs that Barack Obama had promised and spoke so relentlessly about when he first came into office.
Well, yeah, and there was just a big report the other day that came out which suggested that many of the new jobs being created are these low-wage jobs. And actually, we saw that during the Bush years as well. A lot of low-wage jobs are being produced by our economy, even in good times. And my concern is, just looking beyond the who's to blame game here, is our economy changing in fundamental ways where, a lot of the good jobs are going overseas. A lot of the jobs that are created are these low-wage jobs that don't have benefits. And, my fear is that neither political party is addressing this sort of fundamental problem, which is we have a changed economy. We need deep investments in the sort of fundamentals of prosperity, infrastructure, science, things like that. Obama talked about that in his convention address.
Well, when you say, let me just say, when you say investment, this drives me crazy. Investment means what? It means federal spending. And when we just added $1 trillion plus to the U.S. debt in the last fiscal year for this administration, I mean, how much more can you spend? We're spending all the money we take in taxes, plus $1 trillion plus that we have to get from somewhere. Where are we getting it from, Doug?
Look, I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. We've heard this for 4 years. This is not the plan for the future. You do need fundamental reforms. It means take on the debt, do entitlement reform, do fundamental tax reform, relieve the regulatory burden. There is a path to having bad growth turn into better growth, and that would be good for everyone, but we haven't taken that path.
David, the Democrats clearly last night tried to make this really this case for leveling the playing field, make it fairer, and that's going to be good for the economy. And I understand that. Bill Clinton started that narrative the night before. But isn't it the case that our economic recoveries have always been based in a vigorous and invigorated private sector, creating jobs that end up being jobs that are ultimately good-paying jobs with benefits, not pumping money into the public sector to hope that spending more money is going to make us better off long run when we don't have the money in the first place? We're out of money.
Well, just to be clear, it's not Bill Clinton who invented the shared prosperity narrative of, pay people more and they'll be able to participate more in the economy.
With what?
That was
What
Henry,
are we paying them
excuse me,
with?
Laura, that was Henry Ford's idea. You know, pay workers more, share their prosperity. You have a
Before we
stronger
had an
middle,
income tax.
you
Was
have
that
a strong-
before the
you have a
federal
s-
income tax?
Laura, let me finish. You have a stronger middle class with shared prosperity. The economy is going to do better. One reason the economy, a main reason the economy is doing so bad is the middle class is tapped out. Why is the middle class
Right, because
tapped
we
out?
have no private sector job growth. That's the reason the middle class is tapped out.
all
And
the
we could
wealth-
argue about trade, and
Look,
you and I
Laura,
might agree on
even
some of the
before
trade
the
stuff.
2008 crisis, so much of our income growth was going to that top 1%. You cannot build a robust economic, a robust economy with
Okay,
so
so
much
tax
wealth
everybody
going.
at 99%. Tax everyone at 99%, and I promise you, and that is not going to create the jobs that are going to create a middle
Raise
class.
taxes, invest
99%.
in, raise taxes, invest in
The best thing
education
you
and
can do for
infrastructure.
poor people is stop crushing their jobs with the big government and the debt.
I appreciate it, both of you.